We're good.
All right, it is 7 o'clock,
For their marriage and how long.
and I'd like to
it's
call this meeting
wonderful.
to order. First item on the agenda for this evening is public comments. Do we have any public comments? Pat, please. Pat?
Good evening. Pat Boyce from Swansea. We don't have a chairman or vice chairman?
Not this evening.
Okay. Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about the fact that we all know that this district feels that money matters. And I don't need to remind this board that the voters know that money matters. They voted down the budget and the union contract, and we're working on a default budget as of now. At the June 21st meeting of the school board, the board felt that money mattered, and they spent a lot of it. They spent $216,000 plus another $16,000 to ensure that the teachers of the district would be entitled to 100% health insurance coverage, retroactive. They also felt that this board voted on extending what had already been agreed upon for the hockey team. Originally, $8,538 was put aside for them. And then on June 21st, another $7,245 was put aside for them, for a total of $15,783 for this coming year on a default budget. I state this because I want you to understand that money does matter. Last year, going through the budget process, there was a request by a teacher in, I believe, the woodworking department for a new CNC milling machine, $30,000. It was taken to the Finance Committee and overwhelmingly approved. But of course, not only was it removed from the perceived budget, but we're in a default budget, so it would not be there. I had hoped that during the last month and the board sitting around determining how they were going to utilize any excess funds that we had from the ending of June 30th, that someone on this board would consider the needs of this department. But no one brought the motion forward. No one said anything about it. We took care of the teachers, we took care of the ice hockey, but we still have a milling machine that has been here since 1962. 1962. Some of you weren't even born then. And those that were definitely too young to be in a class to utilize it. But it's time to replace it. There is a committee in place that is going out to the community to think outside of the box, so to speak, and try and secure the funds. But I don't think we can wait. I think we need to replace it. And I would hope that even though it's not on your agenda this evening, that this Board of Education would consider the academic needs of our students. And I would hope that this Board of Education would bring forth this to be on the agenda this evening, to make a motion to secure $30,000 for this milling machine and allow the committee to continue their work to secure funds from the community to replace the $30,000. But let's not make the students wait. You have an opportunity this evening for a win-win situation. Students need this milling machine. Manufacturers in the state keep telling us that they cannot hire young people into their industry because we're not engaging them. Let's engage them. Let's bring it forth. Let's have it on the agenda, make a motion, and move it forward so that it can be in the classroom in September. There is a time frame for getting these things in place. So I would hope that you would do the right thing, stand up for the students this evening, and make this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat.
Neil Moriarty.
Neil?
Moriarty, Richmond. I too am up here to speak on behalf of the CNC machine. It belongs in the machine shop, not the carpenters. But then again, if you didn't spend 8,000 hours as an apprentice in that trade, you may not know that. It's a 6-week lead time machine. So even if Jane cut the wreck tomorrow, it still would be the start of the school year before it showed up. On that piece of paper we were handed, which was, I think, January's billing, it listed at $26,000. It's probably gone up. We also ought to send, his name is Rob, right, Ron?
Ron.
The teacher, Ron, we ought to send him to the school. There won't probably be any charge for the school itself in the shop, but there will be a charge for his room and board, so to speak. It's well worth sending him. When we bought new machines in General Dynamics, we would send the programmers, 2 or 3 programmers and 2 or 3 machinists. I even sent a supervisor once to the school because he wanted to go. But you learn about the machine itself, you learn the idiosyncrasies, and a machine that was bought in 1962, maybe we could afford to replace it in 2016. By the way, the first machine I ever ran was run by an overhead belt. Now, you guys probably don't know what that meant, but there used to be a one motor that ran all the machines up an aisle with belts running down to the machines. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Neil. Other public comments?
There's nobody else. Sorry.
Okay, great. Thank you. Moving on to the first item of the, or the second item on the agenda, the consent agenda. I'd be looking for a motion to approve the June 21st minutes of the Monadnock Regional School District.
Second.
Is it public?
Pardon? The public minutes, yes. Any discussion? Karen?
During the last public comments, I feel that someone other than Mrs. Bory spoke, and I don't recall who that was. I'm hoping someone else could remember, but I feel the last few statements in public comments were made by someone else. Specifically, the comment about the film Raising New Hampshire. It was an excellent film. I don't think Mrs. Bory's was the one that said that.
I think that was Tom
I feel like it was a woman, but I'm not sure who.
Because you didn't ask for the woman's name when she stood up.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
What?
I think she is happy to see that the guidance counselor is allowed to work with the student over the summer. She also said that comment too. I'm unsure who that person was.
Oh, is this in this?
Under 7.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
I don't know if anyone remembers.
That was someone else.
Miss LeClaire?
Oh, it was Debbie Gove.
LeClaire, right?
Yeah,
Deb Gove.
yeah, I think you.
And I'm unsure if the comment in between those 2 sentences I said was said by her as well. But I just remember someone else speaking.
Regarding the guidance counselor? Yeah.
The comment about, It says, right now, it says P. Bory's asked the board not to change the minutes by sanitizing them. I'm unsure who made that comment, whether it was Mrs. Bory's or if it was. So I think the sentence before that comment belonged to the woman you just said, Lisa.
Debbie, yeah.
Yeah, and the last comment.
Yep.
But the one in between was Mrs. Bory's.
Yep.
Does that make sense, Laura?
All set?
I see.
Okay. Any other discussion or comments? Jim?
Yeah, I'd like to, there was a discussion under item 1 there, under the 510,000, and Tom Mattson was here, and it's in the second paragraph there, but it got kind of mixed up. It says there, Tom Walsh can provide the numbers. He would also like an educator to help with Monadnock United. I don't remember him saying that he wanted help from Monadnock United.
It was Impact Monadnock, I think was what his comment was. Yep,
There's a little difference.
yep, there is.
There's a lot difference, I'm sorry.
Yep.
I got it, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Other discussion or comments or feedback? Okay. Jane?
Phyllis?
Yes.
Winston?
Yes.
Yes.
Nick?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Betty?
Abstain.
Scott?
Yes.
8.638 yes, 1.121 abstain, 3.241 absent, motion passes.
At this time, I'd entertain a motion for the non-public meeting minutes from the MRSD at 9:44 PM.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion or questions?
I'm just curious where the manifest is, because that's coming up pretty soon to vote on, so.
Okay. Anything on the minutes? Okay. Jane?
Phyllis?
Yes.
Winston?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Nick?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Joe?
Yep.
Eric?
Yes.
Betty?
Abstain.
Scott?
Yes.
8.638 yes, 1.121 abstain, 3.241 absent, motion passes.
And I'd be looking for a motion for the district minutes, non-public minutes from the 21st at 9:53 PM.
I would make a motion to pass those minutes June 21st, 9:53.
Second?
Any discussion or comments? Okay. Jane?
Phyllis?
Yes.
Winston?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Nick?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Betty?
Abstain.
Scott?
Yes.
8.638 yes, 1.121 abstain, 3.241 absent, motion passes.
At this point, we need to recess the school district meeting to go into the SAU board, so we can approve the SAU minutes. I can't remember if that requires a vote. Didn't think so. Okay. Thank you. So I'd be looking for a motion then to approve the SAU 93 meeting public minutes from June 21st.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? Jane?
Phyllis?
Yes.
Winston?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Nick?
Yep.
Bob?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Betty?
Abstain.
Scott?
Yes.
8.638 yes, 1.121 abstain, 3.241 absent, motion passes.
Next up would be the non-public SAU 93 minutes from June 21st at 9:56 PM.
So moved.
Phyllis?
Second?
Wait. Discussion? Jane?
Phyllis?
Yes.
Winston?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Jim?
Yep.
Nick?
Yep.
Bob?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Betty?
Abstain.
Scott?
Yes.
8.638 yes, 1.121 abstain, 3.241 absent, motion passes.
And finally, we have the SAU 93 non-public meeting minutes from June 21st at 10:15 PM.
I would make that motion to approve the minutes of 10:15 SAU 93.
Thank you, Phyllis. Second?
Second.
Good. Joe? Any discussion? Jane?
Phyllis?
Yes.
Winston?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Nick?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Betty?
Abstain.
Scott?
Yes.
8.638 yes, 1.121 abstain, 3.241 absent, motion passes.
At this time, we need to recess the SAU 93 meeting and return to our Monadnock Regional School District meeting. And the next item on the agenda is the manifest.
We haven't seen it.
We haven't seen
Is it
the
coming
minutes.
around?
We've seen
Okay.
it online, but we haven't signed it.
Okay. While that's coming around, just a quick announcement. The Budget Committee would like to have a joint meeting with the school board on August 23rd, which is the normal meeting time for the Budget Committee. So I'll make sure that goes out electronically to you as well, but I wanted to make sure I mentioned it this evening.
That's nice.
Lisa?
Yeah. Jane?
I have a document coming around in the purple folder for your signature. It's 2 copies, and it is the cover to the MS-22. After I submitted in March, I had asked for them to help me do an adjustment for the $14.75 from the Capital Reserve, because there was no way I could do it electronically in their system. The Department of Revenue made the change, sent it back. They haven't asked for a re-signed cover, but because it's a revised document, I just want to get the cover re-signed. So the revised MS-22 is coming around with the cover on top for signature, if you wouldn't mind.
And while the manifest makes its way around and the MS-22, if it's okay with the rest of you, why don't we move on to setting next meeting's agenda, and then we can go back to take action on the manifest. Are there items that folks would like to place on the agenda? And keeping in mind that there were some that we had moved forward at the last meeting, those will appear on the next agenda, those that were brought up. Phyllis, then Jim.
Okay. Should we ask this committee who's working on this milling machine, how is it going? Because, I mean, it would be nice for us to know, how is that going? What are their needs?
Okay.
At least get an update to see if we could support the students getting the milling machine.
I can answer that, Phyllis.
What?
I can answer that.
Ooh.
It's stalled at this point because I just haven't had time to send out a meeting request to meet. We've had Ron Fabianski, Dan Kaufman, Neil Moriarty, and myself meet to kind of go through with a plan. We kind of had some homework that we did. We just need to get together and meet, and it's just, I have not had time to send out a request. I think what I'll just do is send it out and say, you all agree and I'll get there. Because at this
Yeah.
point, I just can't put out a date that I know will hit everybody.
Is that any work been done? Are you saying we're at the bottom?
We're at the bottom at this point, other than deciding how we're going to go about. We've looked into GoFundMe. Neil did some research with that. Dan has been making contacts, Ron have been making contacts in the field, because they're both members of the different, what's the right word? Yeah, organizations that would have that networking, and where Dan's in that field. He's been making contacts, and I think it's been really good for he and Ron to be kind of together, because together, with one in the field and one that teaches in the field, it's been a really good alliance there. So, but I would be fully in support if the board wished to front the money so that we could place the order.
Is it possible?
Of course it is.
Could we put that on the next meeting's agenda? And that would give you time to look at this budget to see where we are, and maybe we could make this work for the students.
Phyllis, if we were to do it now to allow that lead time so that we could possibly get it in place in time, I would make sure that I have money saved in one area or another. I guarantee you.
I would make that motion. If, I don't know when you want to do that, but.
Jim?
I would rather deal with that tonight. I think we've had, the committee made a recommendation on this quite a time ago. It should have been on the agendas here, it should have been brought up by now. I know that people have worked on it, and I think the amount of money that we're talking about is not that we would have to provide the full amount of money, because in fact, I think Dan has been looking at trying to get quite a bit of funding. I think all we have to do is basically set aside a certain amount of money to deal with that. And I'd rather wait than wait for another period of time where this is kind of necessary to do within the 6-week time frame, particularly if we want to get Ron to take any courses or whatever. It seems to me that we ought to do something now. I mean, part of the reason that we're here now in the summertime is to handle some of these last-minute situations. And this really, in some respects, is not a last-minute situation. It was recommended by this board, it was voted on by the board. If the money is at least available, then I think it should be, I think we should move ahead to get the purchase of this equipment and to have Ron take the course. And if it gets offset by the money that's raised, then that's fine. But I'm very concerned here that, you know, the last 2 or 3 meetings, first of all, it's not on the agenda tonight, and I personally think it should have been. But, and I mean, it's not something that's just been swept under the carpet. And so, in previous situations, the last 2 or 3 meetings, I've seen things brought up, including some last-minute situations, which we just dealt with on the minutes. Things that were brought up with the hockey program, last-minute situation with the teachers, and, you know, this board has found it in their benefit to vote on these things and to spend that kind of money. And this is a situation that deals with the basic academics of this school system. And as I said, the Finance Committee voted unanimously for it, and the school board has voted for it in the past as well. And I don't think we should put it off to another meeting. So I'd like to see it addressed tonight. And if it involves doing a motion to do that, that's fine. Since it's not on the agenda, I would ask that situation be placed on the agenda right now to be discussed.
So is that a second to Phyllis's motion, Jim?
No, because her motion was to put it off to the next meeting, and that's
Oh, okay, sorry.
problematic. I'm
Okay.
basically making a motion to put it on
I would
tonight
support
to
that.
discuss it.
Okay, so amendment to your motion, Pat?
Yes.
Phyllis, okay. So is there a second then to Jim's motion?
I would second this
Okay,
new one.
okay, so the new one. And bear with me on the parliamentary stuff. Phyllis, then Karen. Or Betty, then Karen.
It's my understanding that the machine we currently have doesn't even give the kids prerequisite skills to take courses at the Career Center. That's how outdated everything is, so I'm in favor of this.
Karen.
I was just going to ask to clarify the motion. Is this motion to add it to the agenda, or is this the motion to?
I believe the motion is to add it to the agenda for this evening, and if, in accordance with the way we've handled these in the past, I believe that requires a 2/3 vote.
Yep.
Okay.
I would make that motion to add it to tonight's agenda.
That's what my motion was.
Yep, okay.
That's what it was.
Okay. So any other discussion on the addition of this item to tonight's agenda?
Just to be clear, we can ask some questions when it's brought up on the agenda.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Thanks.
Jane?
Okay, this is to vote to place it on the agenda for tonight. Phyllis?
Yes.
Winston?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Nick?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Eric?
Yep.
Betty?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
9.759 yes, 3.241 absent, motion passes.
Could I answer Betty's question?
Yes.
CCC up there is for people that are going into the trades.
Neil, come to the mic.
Oh, excuse me. Straighten my hat, tighten my tie. Neil Moriarty, Richmond. CCC is for people that are going into the trades, and many of the people won't go to there for the trades, but I'll tell you one thing, every engineer has to go through at least one machine shop class. And if you don't take it here, you're gonna take it in college.
Okay, so this item is now on the agenda. I'll be looking for a motion around this item.
You're looking for a motion to place the.
We already placed it on the agenda, so we need to move that.
Yes.
What's the actual motion for this going to be,
I would
Jim?
make that motion to place the milling machine on tonight's agenda.
No, that's what we just
already
voted
done that.
on.
I think the motion we're looking for is to allocate or approve the money, the funding. So, Jim?
Yeah, I've had a couple conversations about this situation, and I'd like to see us basically allocate the money that was, I think, originally requested, plus whatever amount of money would be necessary for any course for Ron to take. With the proviso, I guess, that any money raised offset the expenditures. Now, I think that's the way we originally looked at this.
Yeah, we
and
did.
as I understand it, Dan Kaufman has been looking at this, and I know Neil has been involved in it, and I think if we, people were saying, well, we don't know where it stands. I think, Neil's here tonight. If there's questions, Neil and Dan and those people have been involved in this and looking at it because, in fact, this board set up a committee, which those two were on, to look at this issue. So I think that's the way we should approach it, and I would make that motion.
Okay, so.
Second.
Okay. So the motion, can we restate that so that it's clear? To allocate the original amount plus any additional funds for training and coursework, with the proviso that any money raised would offset those costs? Okay, thank you.
I just had a couple questions here. Excuse me, I'm sick. I was originally for this. I still am for it. I think it's a valuable addition, coming from somebody who is an engineer, and from an industry where we're looking for good machinists. I recently, I'm not part of the finance committee, but from my understanding, from next year, we're due to some issues with funding special education or something to do with special education. We're short about $1 million. I'm just concerned that there's been a lot of spending and throwing money around in the past few weeks. I just want to make sure that, I'm all for it, but I want to make sure that we have the money that's needed for the absolute essentials before we go ahead and do this, so.
Thank you, Nick. Betty, then Jane.
Could we do a friendly amendment to put in the amount of money? I believe it was 30,000.
Yeah, if you wanted to identify, I think that's what it was.
Yeah, I believe
I'm
that's
not
correct.
sure what the amount is for Ron,
Well, and
for
I
the
have
training, but I don't think it's an awful lot of money.
I have a question too. He has staff development money, so I don't know that we need to budget that money.
If he can get it with staff development, fine.
Jane, and then Eric.
Yeah, to answer Nick's question, Nick, that number's going to change daily. I mean, I don't know who's going to arrive or who's going to exit just between now and the start of school.
But right now, as it
Right now,
stands,
if all the kids that were identified are placed, yes. But like I said, that could change. Now, we had, at the very end of the year, 7 kids whose placements were up in the air. I believe 2 were placed in May. I think the other 5 are still up in the air. But we have to look at worst-case scenario with the budgeting, which is why I asked for that excess of funds. The other problem that we're having right now, Nick, is there's not a lot of placements out there with space available, which is part of why they're still in limbo, because you have to identify a place that will address their needs and then actually have space available in those placements. I mean, we're even reaching down into Massachusetts more and more now because places are closing around us or just full. But like I said, that could change from time to time. I do know, like David Lapointe, we identified a couple things in his area that may be favorable because we got very good rates on our oil and our propane. But we had an issue come up that Dave's going to be explaining to the Finance Facilities Committee, but I think he turned what could have been a horrible thing into a very good thing for the district. So he'll be discussing that. So off and on during the year, when there are going to be savings, I will let you know. But as you know, I will do my best to isolate those costs. And I mean, I'm looking at a couple things right now thinking, well, if there's a grant, that may not be there. So I'm looking at a couple things actually as we speak.
Eric, and then Phyllis.
I just had a question. I'm in favor of this, but it was brought up that this had been brought up at several meetings. I haven't heard it since I've been back, and I have missed a meeting, so I'm not sure if I did miss it or not. What committee was this with? What committee actually did it?
Can I?
Jane.
Initially, this actually came out about 1.5 years ago when Ron approached me about it, and I asked him to go through the process, which, you know, I almost feel like I could kick myself now, and he did. He put out his whole, here's why I want to have it, here's how it will benefit the kids. He brought it to the administration. It went through the Finance Committee, who recommended it go in to the proposed budget. It was met by Budget Committee and School Board, both very favorably. But then when the default budget came through, it got kicked out. But it also got kicked out too because many felt, well, we can just raise the money for that. But it was the one item that had been brought up that was universally accepted by the Budget Committee and the Board.
Just a point.
Phyllis.
I was just going to say, this was actually part of the increased budget that the board had proposed.
Yep.
And that was voted down by the voters, unfortunately.
Yep.
Phyllis.
It actually had been removed by that time, Nick.
Oh, it had?
Yes.
Looking at next meeting's agenda, and we have a new sped director, I would like to see her perspective and give us an update as to, are we in a critical state here? One with placements, two with money, to find out where we are so that we're taking care of business.
Okay. I'll add that. Thank you. Other items for, oh, we're still voting, aren't we?
I'm still voting.
Sorry. Any other discussion, Scott?
Can we clarify the amendment to understand when the spend will occur, which budget it's coming from? This 16, 17?
It has to be. We can't retroactively at this point go back. So it will be this year's.
Well, as opposed to, are we suggesting that we put it in the proposed budget we're about to begin debating over the next few months?
Right.
Yeah, and just that's kind of where my question came from. As things stand right now, Jane, is there room for this in one of the operating budgets for these departments, or is this something, is this going to be one of those items that the board votes on and you kind of set the money aside and say, I got to figure out how to do it, even though with our current projections, we're still short?
It will be one of those, I will figure out how to do it. Which I've done for 6 years, and
Okay.
we've been okay. So,
Win.
Yes, at the same time, the committee will be working on raising funds, and that should offset it, so hopefully we're banking on it, won't be a problem.
Scott?
Something this large, is it realistic to expect an outcome from this year, or is this something that would need to be purchased and then installed next summer? And he'll need time to go through training and get a curriculum ready for a future year, or can we actually have an impact this season?
Scott, I think what they're looking to do is, if it's approved by the board tonight, to purchase it ASAP out of the funds, the 16, 17 funds, to have it so it would be in place or near in place at the start of school this year.
This year?
I hope so.
So I'll restate that, or actually, Laura, if you can read that motion back, make sure we have it right.
Could we move the question?
Sure. Yep.
Bobby, what's his name? Bobby Onsky. Okay. Jim made the motion to allocate the funds originally requested in the amount of $30,000 and any funds for Rob Fabianski's training and coursework. I
And
have
anything
to write
raised
that.
would
And any
offset the
funds
cost.
raised to offset, but I have to put a word in there.
Okay, Jane?
Oh, you ready for vote?
Yep.
Oh, sorry.
Move the question.
Phyllis?
Yes.
Winston?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Nick?
Yep.
Bob?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Betty?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
9.759 yes, 3.241 absent, motion passes.
Next on the agenda, we have action on the manifest. Has that made its way around at this point?
Yep.
Okay, great.
So I believe there are 2 votes, correct, Jane?
Yes, there's a
One for each.
1617 number and a 1516.
Yep. The 1516 number is $622,962.97.
Second.
Do we have the money?
That was good, Lisa.
Minus 30,000, yeah.
Jane?
Phyllis?
Yes.
Winston?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Nick?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Betty?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
8.761 yes, 4 point, oops, wait a minute.
Missed me.
I missed somebody. I missed you. Sorry, Eric.
Yes.
Thank you. 9.759 yes, 3.241 absent, motion passes.
And then for the 16-17 year, in the manifest in the amount of $641,281.75.
Second.
Someone else can do it this time.
Lisa wants his ass. Do we have the money, Jane? That make you feel better.
Yeah. Jane?
Phyllis?
Yes.
Winston?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Nick?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Betty?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
9.759 yes, 3.241 absent, motion passes.
Any other items for next meeting's agenda? Again, with the understanding that we're moving forward, what would have been on tonight's as well. Jane?
I'll be bringing forth the draft budget schedule for the year, which will include your vote dates and everything else. I'll probably be bringing it to finance on Tuesday night and then be looking for them to bring it forth for the next meeting.
Other items?
I just have a question. When's the next education meeting?
Next Tuesday.
Okay, because I didn't have it.
It was in the email. I know there was, Mike
looked
and
on the web.
Lisa had been going back and forth about 12 times, and then it finally ended with all the meetings were staying the same.
Yeah. It just seemed like that was the path of
Well, I
least
looked on the
resistance.
website, it wasn't there, so.
Oh, I sent a agenda. I know there was a lot of people on vacation. I emailed
6:30?
I emailed the agenda to everybody, and then I also asked for it to be posted. I don't know if it's posted yet.
Okay, I'll check on that.
And I assumed we were going to still do 6:30 because of the one meeting a month.
Yeah,
you
I
guys-
just wanted to ask those people that are here for finance, are we set for, we got enough people for a quorum for next Tuesday?
Yes.
Right around here. I know Wynn can't
I
make
can't
it.
make it, or
Me too.
You can't make it, or you can?
I can.
Okay. All right.
Great. And Eric, did you want to ask about a quorum for tomorrow night?
Yeah, for extra, Karen, are you available for tomorrow night for the extracurricular?
Oh, I didn't realize it was tomorrow night. I can
Tomorrow
be,
at
yes.
6? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will have one then, because myself and Scott,
Okay.
if Karen's here, we'll definitely have a
Yeah.
quorum.
And while we're at it, I might as well ask for education. Do we have at least 4 people? Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other items for the next meeting's agenda?
when is that education meeting?
6:30, because we were only doing one meeting a month, so we
Oh,
extended it, so
is
it's
it
an hour.
tomorrow night?
Yep. No, next Tuesday at 6:30.
Well, I can't make that one either, obviously.
Okay, so long as we got 4, though, we have 1, 2, 3, and
You should have a quorum.
Phyllis said.
Okay.
Lisa.
Scott?
Bob, are you available for tax next Wednesday? Okay.
Any other committee check-ins while we're doing that? Okay. Any other items for next meeting's agenda? We good? Okay, so we're on to the next second session of public comments. Do we have any additional or new public comments? Pat?
Pat Bory, Swansea. I'd like to thank the Board of Education for responding to the needs of the students. I know that they'll appreciate it and they'll be engaged in it, and I think that's a win-win for the district. So thank you. I'd also like to comment on the fact that I believe it was Friday or Saturday the last time I looked on the website calendar, and there were no meetings listed there for education or finance or policy. There's nothing listed on tonight's agenda sheet. So, and I know that I'm hearing that there is a controversy going on between when the committees want to meet and when the chairman and administration want them to meet. And I think if you go back to letting the chairman of the committees choose their meeting dates, that there'll be less confusion and perhaps more meeting time. So thank you.
Neil?
Moriarty, Richmond, thanks for the vote on the CNC machine. I'd just like to make one other comment. I don't know whether you have to vote on it or not, but and looking at the credit card situation, what is it, GoFundMe? They charge 8%, but we can do our own credit cards approval through your own system. All you have to do is say so. Now, I checked with, who runs food service?
Tom Welsh.
Tom Welch. He says right now you can only use it for food, but there's no reason why we couldn't use it for everything. That would put only the charge a credit card company charges anyway, and you wouldn't be paying GoFundMe 8%. So if it's got to be voted on, you might want to put it on the agenda.
Okay, thank you, Neil. Any other public comments tonight? Okay. At this time, I'm going to call for a short recess, and then we're going to move into some non-public sessions. So we'll take about, 7 minutes? How about 7? That'll get us to 10 of. 10?
These guys
Okay.
need a break.
Takes you 10? Okay. 10-minute recess.